We are running a company. It's got 50 plus people out here. When ChatGPT came out, we were aggressive in trying to figure out how we could use it within our own company. And we started running into problems, right?
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Top of the Hunt. Today we've got Anand with Chaturji, who recently launched on Product Hunt. They came second of the day behind Right Sonic, which is an established player who's been on there many times. So I'm sure if it had been a different day, perhaps they'd have been first, and who knows, maybe if they launch again, they'll achieve it next time. So I'll pass it over to Anand. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. This is Anand Shah, and I'm the founder of Chaturji, which is an AI assistant that gives you access to multiple LLMs, all the good ones, and also provides a bunch of other features for collaboration and organizing your prompts and getting knowledge out there for your work and for your personal lives.
Okay, so what's your background then to come up with the idea?
Yes. I've been a technologist now for 30 plus years. Chaturji has been spawned off by this company called Ignite Solutions, which is also a company I founded. They provide fractional CTO services and product development and product design services to startup companies. So we've always had this kind of product DNA in our makeup, right? We started as a product startup that didn't work out a few years ago. And then we've been providing professional services, but to startup companies, and we've gone around the block a few times. And then we said, okay, AI is heating up. We tried to use that. And I can tell you the story about how we came up with the idea too. But when we are thinking of how best to use AI, we came up with some concept. We didn't quite like it. Then we came up with this concept of Chaturji, which we said was really good. We have been using it internally, and we said it's good enough to package and take it out there. And I think it can really help some companies. Right? So.
It's interesting that you've been heavily involved in the startup world without being a startup. It must have given you a lot of insight. Did you use a lot of those connections to validate your idea?
We did. We used some of them. Like I said, we were a startup at one point, many years
Yeah.
ago, maybe 10 years ago. Eventually, the company did not, or rather, the concept did not pan out the way we had wanted it to. So we decided to package what we had learned building a startup, something that we think most startups value, which is being nimble, being pragmatic about what we build and what we take to market and how we validate it and how we can change our mind and continue down the path, as opposed to having used up all our funds and then not have any leeway to keep going, right? So we put all that philosophy into what we do as a professional services company, and that's what other startups value a lot. But that's what we try to do with our own product. So we try to, the second time around, use some of those things, and we've been lean about everything we do.
So it's my technical co-founder likes the term eating your own dog food.
Yes.
So that's what you've done this time for launching Chaturji.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So you mentioned that it's a tool that you have used internally. So how specifically does it work? Because obviously you're in a competitive space where when you look and you say we do prompting and few things, it looks a lot like it's ChatGTP plus another couple of other ones, Claude, etc. wrapped in. But from the way you've demonstrated in your product video, it seems like you've found an interesting niche in between that.
Yes. If, like I said, we are running a company. It's got 50 plus people out here. When ChatGPT came out, we were aggressive in trying to figure out how we could use it within our own company, and we started running into problems, right? If we take like a HR department, or we take our quality assurance department, these seemed ripe for using some of the AI facilities. But there were few people out there who got what it is to write a prompt, and when you should use the content that's coming out versus when you shouldn't use it, and how to write an optimal prompt. And then the other team members were clueless, and we had a tough time trying to get everybody on the same page and using AI in a way that works consistently in our workflow. So some people were using AI and they were getting some different kind of productivity boost, versus others who were not able to use AI and they were getting frustrated. And here we are trying to tell them, okay, I really would like you to see how we can use AI in everything you do, right? And we got to thinking, how do we bring clever prompt writing and where exactly we want to use the prompts within our business processes to everybody in the team. So we started, some people used to write prompts and then put it on a Google sheet or something like that, and then there used to be version errors, and it was very soon it started becoming a nightmare, right? There are different versions of the
Yeah.
sheet and people are using the wrong one, and they don't quite know where to use it and how to use it and what's the playbook. And the other thing we realized also is that we started by saying, can I automate the entire use case of whatever our workflow was? And that's not the way we should think about AI, right? AI, as it stands today, I feel micro use cases is where you use it, right? So you're doing a whole lot of things using whatever tools and systems you have in place, but can I use AI and plug it into 4 or 5 different micro places where it suddenly gives you a boost? And we need to convey this as to everybody to say, this is the place where you use the AI and this is the prompt, and within the prompt itself you need to change these 5 things so that it actually works for this particular instance of what you want to use. And as we started doing that and creating kind of homegrown systems, right, with Google Docs and Google Sheets and things of that nature, we started seeing a pattern, right, that there are, and we said, can I actually solve this pattern, which is, can I make a collaborative space where the playbooks and the prompts are shared and people
Mhm.
know which ones apply to them and when they should use it, and then the output is shared, and we kind of start getting this collaborative view of AI that can basically be used by everybody in the company, and we just need 1 or 2 smart people to write the good prompts that are applicable to you. So that was an aha moment for us, right? And we said, okay,
Yeah.
let's build a tool for our own consumption which basically allows us to have prompts and we can just use the prompt. And when we were doing that, we said we really like GPT-4, which had just come out around the time the tool started taking shape. But we said, if I have 50 people and I need to pay $20 a month, that's starting to get a little not cheap, right? Then we said, okay, we want this collaborative view, but if I use the API to GPT-4, it's not like we are sitting the whole day hitting GPT with the prompts.
Mhm.
So the actual cost amortized over my team is actually pretty low, right? And okay, so now if I can get this collaborative view and I can get the best AI for cheap, right? And it's amortized over all my people, isn't that a good value proposition? So we went down that path and we said, why stop at GPT-4? We could get Gemini in there. We could, at that point, get Claude 2 in there. And just a
Mhm.
week before we launched, Claude 3 came out. So we really quickly got that working and we launched with Claude 3. But now we have all the best AIs in the world and you can pick and choose which one works for you. And we found some of them work good for certain kinds of tasks, and other Claude Sonnet works good for certain kind of tasks. Gemini Pro works well for certain, but it's not an exact science, so we've made them all available and let people choose which one works for them. So that was the point too, right? One is, how can I collaborate? The other is, how can I use the best AIs without breaking the bank? And then we said, there will be a lot of companies like us, but they're just slower to the game, and can we make prompts available to them? They can go on the internet, and every LinkedIn post is about prompts nowadays, and every Insta post is about prompts. So it's not difficult for them to find the prompts, but consolidating them and making that available in a single place has some value. So we said, let's provide a prompt library along with this, so that when a company or a team starts off, they already have prompts for the typical use cases. Of course, they can build their own and they can store them and organize them, but this way they get something that gets them off and running right from the get go, right? So those were the 3 key principles we worked on, and we've added tools to make you write prompts better and chat with documents and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not doing too much different from what a chat GPT is doing or a Claude is doing or a Gemini Pro is doing, but it's bringing it all together and trying to make this something that works for a collaborative team, and it's much cheaper. Right now it's free because it's early access, but when we do introduce plans, it's going to be much cheaper than buying each of this individually, right? So we're thinking that's a great value proposition for a company with 50 people, 100 people, 200 people, to just say, AI is now part of my workflow, and I'm not, by inviting all my entire company, it's not costing me an arm and a leg.
I think you've said a few very interesting things in there, and we need to unpack them a little bit. I think first off, I've had that problem. I was on version 7 of something, and then one day I was using the wrong version,
Yes.
and I was thinking, what on earth's going on here? And I thought maybe there was something wrong with chat or there was something wrong with Claude, and then it turns out it was a human error. Which obviously, on that point, once I'd used my limit for the day, I would have needed to move over to somebody else. So I can see how that affects people massively. So I can again see how you've positioned yourself. Again, it makes a lot of sense, and hopefully the market receives it. I think the only question from working with people would be, how do you help with the security? So I'm feeding in perhaps source code or legal contracts. I'm feeding in something that is otherwise private and confidential.
So firstly, it's at two levels, right? One is we have this concept of a workspace. So as a team, you create a workspace. Everything in that workspace is confidential to that workspace, right? Firstly, everything that you chat with any system is confidential to you. It doesn't get shared with the workspace automatically. So your team members don't know what you're chatting about. But if you do choose to share, it's only within the context of the workspace. And we segregate the workspaces so the confidential information that you're uploading or sharing with the chat box is not going anywhere, right? The other thing is, because when you use the APIs, the way the APIs are structured and the way our agreement with OpenAI or with Google or with Anthropic works is that they are not going to use that data to train anything. So that data
Mm-hmm.
remains private to you only to the extent that it is answering your questions, right? So let's say you put a little sales forecast in the chat box, that is not going to suddenly make its way into somebody else's answer, which is a problem if you use the public GPT, chat GPTs, right? Unless you go and change the settings, this is all data they are saying is fair game for them to train. Especially, I worry about people putting code and things like that into a GPT, the open chat GPT thing, because that code could suddenly be regurgitated out when somebody else is asking a question which is similar, right? And
Yeah.
it's like opening yourself to all kinds of litigation, right? For people who feel that their privacy has been compromised, and then for somebody else who inadvertently is using copyrighted code, right? From both sides, it's a risk management problem.
Definitely.
We are taking care of it by private workspaces and then making sure that information we transmit to the underlying LLM, is protected by an agreement that says they're not going to use it to train anything.
It makes a lot of sense to have gone down that route with it, because it's the way in which your legal agreements will be with these tools is everybody then has a protection through that. So it's
Yes.
hopefully, as long as they don't lie and cheat and steal everybody,
Yes. Yes.
then you're okay. But I can imagine from your client work, that would have been something if you put some code in or even took some code out. You've got a bit of concern of, is this going to be, if somebody used it for tender in a legal process in the UK, there might be some heavy penalties for using what was otherwise open source materials when it shouldn't have been used. I can imagine it's going to be scary for some people in the future.
No, I'm actually
Because
more worried about using the code that comes out, because I don't know
Mhm.
whose copyright it is, right? And suddenly we
Yeah,
are in production systems with code that might actually belong to somebody else, right? So
yeah, you didn't open source it, you just stole it inadvertently. It'd be scary times and very difficult to litigate, I can imagine. Where do you shift the blame to? But
I feel that this is an insurance problem, right? At some level, this is the risk that companies are going to have to sell to insurers who will step up and say, I got you covered. I feel this is where insurance companies have to come and play, because otherwise we are in the wild west, right? Everybody's using everything coming out.
I can see that. From there, obviously, you've launched Chaturji on Product Hunt. So you came second on the day. How does that feel?
So it feels really good. And all the other products that were in the top 5 that day were repeat launches, right? There were companies,
Right.
this was the 22nd launch. Right Sonic, this was maybe the 5th or 6th launch for that same product. Product Hunt actually alerts everybody who has voted for and follows that product automatically. So they get a tailwind behind them. As soon as they launch, they already have all the people who have supported them in the past. So then for us to compete with that and then come second felt really good. Like it felt like our product was valued by everybody who came out there. and we got some honest kind of votes as well as honest comments and feedback, right? So it felt really nice.
Imagine it in a way, it's kind of your votes should be worth like 1.5 perhaps, because you didn't have anybody. It's very easy to get a customer who's happy with you to come back and give a testimonial, isn't it? So from them, for all of them in and around you, it's been a lot easier start to the morning,
Yes.
shall we say. So but I noticed you used a hunter.
Yes.
Can you explain like how and you came to use one, what it's like using one, and the
Yes.
pros and the cons from your experience?
Yes, certainly. We are a kind of text focused company, and that's been my history. Our marketing department was not quite focused on launching products, they were focused on the other kind of work that we do, which is more professional services targeted startups. So this is not a field that we understood very well. Like we didn't know what we didn't know. We said maybe it might be worthwhile to get some professional help to take us out there and just show us the ropes. I feel, and it worked out well, right? So we came number
Yeah.
2, and our hunter kind of advised us appropriately, even up front, and then on the day. I don't think it diminishes the work you have to do, right? As yourself, you can't. It's not like you outsource it to a hunter and then you just sit back and relax. That I, in hindsight, I believe that would have resulted in a flop, right? So the hunter is there, they are giving you some steroids, but you have to keep going. You have to, it's still your work and your face out there and your effort that's going to drive the product up. So I feel the hunter kind of does a lot, but you also have to do a lot. That's my takeaway from the whole thing.
I think you're right. I've seen a few people use a hunter to launch, and then after they've launched, they haven't done much work on themselves. They haven't really tried to promote it throughout the day.
Yes.
And they weren't particularly involved in the comments or anything, and people didn't have much feedback. So they had a fantastic start to the morning. So I think you're right. And it's, if you've ever saw old pictures of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the gym, it didn't matter how much steroids he may or may not have took. You could see he was lifting very big weights. Isn't it? It's a marathon and yet a sprint at the same time.
Yeah, you have to put in the work. I don't think there's any escaping that.
So it's from there. Did you start promoting it a long time before?
No, in terms of the run up to the launch, we were really focused on making sure the product worked, and it worked well. And like I said, we had a positive blip that we got Claude 3 announced just a week before. And we were like really banging at that door to see whether we would get the APIs. So we wanted that integrated. We wanted to launch with that as opposed to saying coming soon. Most of our focus was on that. We had launched, the website was up, and people could sign up for the early access. We had reached out to a community we had created and got quite a few users already signed up, with whom we could run some kind of alpha tests and making sure that the product worked okay, and we got their feedback in there and we cleaned up the product. In terms of promotions, I don't think we did too much, right? We did set up the teaser page on Product Hunt with the coming soon, and people could click and notify me. Then we promoted that to some people, right? We wanted to make sure that people were signed up in Product Hunt, and our team was signed up and the makers were signed up, and we had given it the 7 days that Product Hunt wants you to age the login before they start counting the votes. So we did a little bit of that. I would say that's the basic prep we did. The other things we did do is we made sure that all our content, the video that we've put out there and the images and all were accurate and they played well. We tried sharing them on social media and seeing whether the images showed up nicely when you put it in WhatsApp or on Instagram or something. So I feel that's the level at which we played. We didn't really do a lot of promotion aside from that till we hit the launch day. Yeah.
Okay, and it's been primarily positive feedback, or were people a bit bemused and saying, well, this is like chat, but they're not? Did they get it straight away?
Oh, I think on Product Hunt, it's been, predominantly positive. People have appreciated that we've put together multiple LLMs in one window. They've appreciated the collaborative features. They've appreciated the prompt library. Some people have actually written to us after using the product, and they've even given their ranking on what they think are killer features like multiple LLMs and the prompt library,
Mhm.
what they think are nice features with just differentiators. They wouldn't pay for them possibly, right? So it's been positive feedback. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So from there is sort of product hunt going to be somewhere where you're going to become a serial releaser and next time squash somebody else's dreams on their first release?
So here's another thing, like I feel from a philosophy perspective, we took a stance, right? We didn't want to go and say we are in this as a competition. We just wanted to enjoy the experience. And frankly, if you look, our team went and upvoted and commented on pretty much all the other people who were live on that day. Some of them competing with us, some of them ahead of us. Like, we weren't trying to count the votes. I think that might be, in some sense, and even in hindsight, I feel this, that's probably you're taking away the charm of Product Hunt, right? The charm of Product Hunt is you are there and people are coming and exploring, kind of an open house. If you focus too much on the votes, I feel you're not in it for the right reasons, right? So I hope I don't squash anybody's dreams. I feel whoever is there on the next time around, we can all lift all the vessels with the tide and we can all have a good time and get good exposure to our products, whatever they might be, right? Whether they're competing with us or they are in totally different fields. I feel it's you're there in some kind of celebration, right? Everybody's launching and they're trying to showcase their products to the world. And I just feel positive about the whole thing. Right? So
It's a lovely philosophy to hold. And I think you're right. There's some of the people I've spoken to who this is their first ever time they've shipped a product. So for them, it's a massive achievement on their own. I don't know if you can even put a number on how many times you've shipped over the years, but for some people, it becomes once a month thing and it's very routine. But then obviously, Product Hunt comes along and it's a different type of buzz around it because you're no longer releasing it to existing customers, you're releasing it to new ones.
yes,
And I think you're right. It's all of the people when there is a lot of buzz on one product, there seems to be a lot more traffic for some of the other ones as well.
yes,
So
yes.
it's
So I'd like to share something on that too. We use Slack internally. Message just the day before saying, guys, savor the moment, right? Not everybody gets to launch a product and take it live and in front of millions of people. So just savor the moment. We've done a great job. Let's hold our heads high, irrespective of what the outcome is, right? Maybe it's a dud, maybe it wins. We are thankful that we became product of the day. But I feel we really should savor that moment. It's a lot of hard work that goes in for any product. Whether it succeeds or not on Product Hunt is a separate matter. But I feel, again, it's a philosophy of how you look at the achievement is you actually made a product, not the fact that you actually won on that day.
for some people, I think if they have that perspective, it would make the whole experience a lot different.
Yeah.
The attach and we must achieve top three, top five, whatever the goals might be, I can imagine makes it a lot more stressful than it perhaps would have been if you were like, look, we've done a great job. Let's see what we can do today. But if we go out swinging and we don't get very high, then at least we try. So it's a good philosophy. Perhaps other people adopt it after listening to you today. It's a good way of looking at things. So from there, you had lots of traffic. Is that traffic now subsiding? Is it a time to look at other platforms, other marketing channels?
We've had a fair number of signups. Actually, we are quite happy with the number of signups we've had. What we are trying to do now is we certainly want to acquire additional signups. Yes, but we also want to make sure we are doing the right thing by the people who have signed up. So we are focusing some time on supporting them. We're focusing some time on making sure that we understand where they feel the value is. These are early users and we want to learn the most from them. Whether we go on other platforms or we do something different to drive more signups, I feel right now we are just taking a moment and thinking about more of the existing users who have signed up and making sure we support them before we start a second round of trying to acquire more users.
I think you've had enough experience to know. Look, if you don't look after these first set of customers, they're going to disappear, not come back, and then the initial word of mouth you would have had is perhaps gone,
Yes,
and then you fall flat because you've got loads of bad reviews for the second version. It's not going to matter much anyway, is it?
yes,
So it's a good lesson for some of the younger people out there who haven't released before. Take care of your customers because they're often considered king, and if you don't consider them king, perhaps you'll have nothing in the end.
it's interesting that the number of people who'll try your product, especially if there's a free trial, is like really high, right? But if we want to stick in it for the long haul, we really have to make sure that people are using it in a way that they find value, right? So I feel that's an equally important thing, not just the
Mhm.
acquisition of customers.
No, definitely. Because there was perhaps yours doesn't need as much onboarding, but there was Anastasia from Milestone. They've created a lovely product to help with the onboarding side of things, to help try and make sure people know how to solve all of these problems when they get in. And I think today now people are starting to realize getting people into the funnel is one thing, but keeping them as customers is a very different prospect. If you don't give it as much value as other things, then you're in a position where you've just wasted a lot of time at the top end, whether
Yeah,
that's money or time or effort, whatever it might be.
that's true.
So it's fantastic. So from there, if you were to give yourself advice, or perhaps other people starting again, what would you say to them for Product Hunt?
I think the advice remains be lean, right? Don't think you have the answer. I've been guilty of this in oftentimes that we get seduced by our own ideas. Like we try and build kind of the Cadillac version or the Rolls Royce version, whichever car you prefer, right? But I feel it is better to be lean, have a solid product, but keep it minimal, and then go out and then see whether people actually use it, what kind of feedback they're getting before you iterate. Like I feel that's golden advice. And I don't think anything changes on that. So whether you go on Product Hunt or you do it with small groups of people and then you build up to Product Hunt, I feel that advice remains unchanged.
Fantastic. So with regards to going on to Product Hunt, what advice would you give to somebody then?
It's a great platform. The information that Product Hunt themselves give about how to launch a product is actually quite good, right? So whether you have a hunter or you don't have a hunter, go through that information. Don't spend too much effort in any pre-marketing or anything like that. It didn't We didn't do that, and it hasn't harmed us. But then on the day itself, I feel you really need to work the platform, right? You need to answer all the comments a few days before, or maybe a week or two before. You start reaching out to all the makers out there, and then maybe getting on, connecting to them via LinkedIn or some other method, because these are the people who are in the Product Hunt community. So I would
Mhm.
say find people in that community, reach out to them, connect up with them, so that when you launch, you can start reaching out to them and saying, okay, I've launched, would you mind coming and taking a look, and then if you like it, supporting us. I feel that's an important aspect. Like I feel that gets you a fair amount of traffic. And then you have to work the communities, like you have to work the social platforms. That's what we did. And then you have to work different communities, maybe on WhatsApp, maybe on LinkedIn, maybe on Twitter. You really have to work those, even Reddit and things of that nature, Facebook even. So that's a lot of effort, that those 24 hours you have to like keep pumping it. And I think it's like really useful stuff out there.
The tools, or is it going to remain primarily tech?
We are doing a few things, right? We are just improving the collaborative capabilities. We are introducing the visual, I would say, both prompts as well as answers. And what we are also trying to do is see if a tool like this is applicable to custom LLMs, right? So if you're a company that has set up a custom LLM, we come and give you a chat interface for pretty much no cost, right? You just have to plug in your URL and you plug in your API key, and you're off and running to the races. So we are trying different things out there. Uh, so I would say in the core capabilities of the AI experience itself, in some of the capabilities of sharing and organizing prompts and things of that nature, and then in these other areas with different types of customers who might not be the ones who come and use chat gpt or OpenAI or something, but they have the custom LLM, and we want to just see whether these interfaces start helping them.
No, I can imagine it's because obviously, if you build a custom LLM, then you're in a position where you have to build the front end, don't you? I never thought about that as a market. And if you've got a couple of engineers building that front end out, you might need a third one to build, or the back end out. Sorry, you might need a third one to build the front. So it'd be interesting if you could plug in that way, and then I suppose mixing and matching models so they can say this. A few of these things has to be internal, and then
Yes.
some of these other things can be these external ones.
Yes.
It could really make that sort of analysis and the paralysis, which one do we use when and why, a lot easier to solve because it's
Absolutely.
there, it's documented, and it's actually in the tool.
Yes.
It's an interesting way to take it.
Yeah, so that is an area we are exploring to see what is the market out there. Having been product of the day on Product Hunt and being number two, and now we are in the top 10 of the week also. Yeah, we ranked number 9 for the entire week. I feel that gives us both confidence but also credibility, right? So now when we approach people, they know, yeah, this is something that a lot of people tried out and they liked it. So it amplifies our voice a little bit. So to say.
I mentioned again, Anastasia, she was saying that they'd been trying to speak to companies and they were finding it very difficult to get past the gatekeepers. They seem to be one after the other. And then after they've been product of the day, the people who actually have the ability to make the buying decision are now contacting her.
Super.
So it's completely flipped on its head. Where I suppose that credibility, it'd be very difficult to buy that some of those connections and
Yes.
that sort of accolade of being top of the product hunt and ninth, obviously for
Yeah.
the week is a fantastic achievement. And then from there, are you able to push on for product of the month? Can you make a difference in there? Or if you've not been in the top 5, can you not go for it?
I'm unsure of how that works. We are active on Product Hunt. We are still commenting. We are still visiting all the makers and the new products that are launching. I feel it's not just to promote our product. I just feel that's our commitment to the community, right? Like we got a boost from the community. We want to give back. We want to make sure we remain active in that community. Now, whether it becomes in the top products of the month or not, I'm unsure of what that will entail. But I just feel it's a really nice platform, and across the board, all the people I've interacted with have been nice, right? All the makers have been nice. The people who come and support us have been nice. So it's got a positive vibe to it that I like.
You've got a lovely philosophy in business.
Mhm.
There's a few things you've mentioned that it's a character traits that are not that common in some people. It's obviously you've achieved a lot with your product come service business, and then going back, you're prepared to give a lot of time back into the platform. I've seen a lot of people who come on for a couple of days before their launch, and then they disappear.
Yeah.
And it's like this community. There's a lot of people who perhaps indie developers or who are even some people who are using low code and no code tools to make something. And for my experience of using a low code and a no code solution as a marketer, it's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
You think it's easy, but then I think part of the issue is the logical processes that developers are used to using, other people don't have.
Yes. Yes.
And these platforms don't encourage you to use them. So you'll start developing technical debt from the beginning, and some of these people have perhaps been doing that, but being in that environment and giving back to them is a lovely thing for you to do.
Yeah.
So from there, is there anything you'd like to add or discuss?
No, it's just been a great ride, and we are really looking to see how we can take this momentum and build off it. And I feel it's been a great learning experience for us also. We've launched products for our clients, not necessarily on this stage. They might have been B2B products, or they might have been in e-commerce or something like that. But having gone through that for ourselves, I feel we have a better sensitivity for even what our clients go through. And I feel we are really looking to find that killer product market fit. Like we feel we have something. We People are using the platform, they're using it on multiple days, right? So they're coming back, which is great news. We are getting new signups, but we really want to see what is that spark that will really be an aha for everybody, saying, yeah, this makes perfect sense, why wouldn't I use this? So we are tweaking stuff. We might come back to Product Hunt to relaunch once we have some major breakthrough. Right now, I think we're just trying to consolidate and learn from wherever we've been.
I suppose in a way, your perhaps B2B is some of the clients that have not used the platform. So you might be able to offer this as a service. Well done. Product hunt launch, you can perhaps become their hunter and help them with it.
One of the things we are doing is we used our own tool for some of the stuff we did with Product Hunt. So we have prompts for that. And we are going to add that Hunter is also going to work with us. And we are going to add those into the Chaturji prompt library. So every time somebody wants to launch on Product Hunt, they will get ready-made set of prompts as to how they should approach it. So again, another way to just give back to the community, but really make it easy for the next round of entrepreneurs to launch their product using AIs.
It's a good offering, and I think for a lot of people, from day one, having at least an indication, and as you've used the hunter, and then obviously from your own experience as well, it's to the type of thing that ordinarily would be very expensive for somebody,
Yeah.
or if they could even access it. So it'd be good for them, and obviously they'll just sign up for your tool. They'll go into Chaturji, and then they'll have a look around, and they'll be able to find in their product hunt or marketing type things, and be able to take it from there.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Yeah, and again, AI is not at a place where it can replace people, but
Yeah.
it gives them some productivity, some boost, maybe some ideas, some brainstorming that just sets them up in a path that they feel they're more capable of doing things on their own than otherwise. So hopefully this kind of delivers on that.
So from there, I think we're ready to wrap up. Unless you've got anything else you'd like to add.
No, I think this has been fun.
No.
Enjoyed talking with you. Yeah.
Perhaps in 6 months' time, or when you do relaunch, we can have you back on
Oh, that
to discuss the progress you've made with it, and then additional insights on the sort of the long tail effects of product hunt and how perhaps your go to market's changed, or if you're now needing to do some more direct sales with bigger businesses, how that's evolved for you.
I would love that. I would love that. Yep.
It's been a wonderful time talking to you, and I'll thank you for this day. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Yeah, just in wrapping, I'd like to thank you for having me, but I'd also like to thank the Product Hunt community. They've been great, and I appreciate all the support and warmth I've got from there. But yeah, this has been very enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.